Hello, my name's David Leverick. By popular request, we're going to look at British pronunciation. I'm from London, so I should know about that. So I think the best way to teach British pronunciation is to compare it with American or USA pronunciation. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen with you now. Let's have a look at the differences between British pronunciation and US pronunciation. So I say hot. People from the USA say hat, hat. What is hut in England? This is a hut, like Pizza Hut. So just to recap, in England we say oh, we say hot. People from the USA say a hut. In England, this is hut. Next one. In England, we say water, water. In the USA, they say water, water. So let's say that again. In England, water. Notice what happens to this R. So once again, in England, water, water. Did you hear the R? No. It's silent. In British English, it's silent. At the end of a word, it's silent. But US English, water, water. Yeah, can you hear that? So in US English, you keep the sound of the R. So some people say that it's easier to understand US English compared to British English because they pronounce more of the letters. Listen to this T. So British English, we say water, T. American English, water, water, da, 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 da. So it's a D. So very often with American English, the T becomes a D. Now, going back to this R, it only becomes silent at the end of a word, after a vowel. So A, E, I, O, U. If you get an R after a vowel, it becomes silent. So if we look at this, what is this? This is in British English, this is, oh look, here's a vowel. That's the air sound. Air is a vowel. P, b, k. They're not vowels. So air is a vowel. So this is going to be silent. So British English, it's silent. So I say hair. Yeah, hair. Something which I don't have much of. Yeah, and US English, hair. Hair. Many people think that the reason why there is a strong R at the end of a word with American English is because where do a lot of people from the USA originally come from? Yeah, some people say Ireland. So in Ireland, they would say hair, hair. They pronounce the R as well. And also the southwest of England, places like Cornwall, probably places that have nice beaches, one of the few places in England with nice beaches. They also say hair. So a lot of the people from the west of England and also from Ireland, which is obviously the west of the British Isles, many years ago they travelled to the USA. So there's some kind of connection between people from Ireland, the west of England, and modern day people from the USA. Okay, also difference in syllable stress. So in the UK, we say d-d, d-d. So we say weak, strong, defense, defense. So the stress is on the second E, defense. How do they say this in American English? It's the opposite. They say defense, defense. So the stress is on the first syllable. So defense. Also in sports, they use that a lot. So in football, one of my favourite defenders is Virgil van Dijk from my football team, Liverpool. So he plays in the defense. But if you were from the USA, you'd say he plays in the defense. So you might have seen when they talk about basketball or they talk about what we call American football, they say defense. We would say defense. In England, we often see these animals. People from outside of England, especially from other continents like Asia or South America, when they come to London, they're very surprised to see these little animals everywhere. Not surprising for people in London, we see these all the time. These are squirrels. So how many syllables? That's two, isn't it? Squirrels, squirrels, squirrels. How do you think they say that in the USA? They say one syllable. They say squirrel, squirrel. So British English, squirrel, 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 squirrel. Stress is here. US English, squirrel, squirrel. Just one syllable. Other words that are slightly different, that are pronounced differently. So we have the same word, but they're pronounced differently. So British English, we say basil, basil. Now the stress is the same here. It's just the pronunciation of this A, which is different. So US English, they say basil, basil. So it's like A, basil. British English, basil. Okay, now we also in Britain, we have a different way of expressing ourselves. So obviously we both use English. So in England we use English and in the USA we use English. We understand each other's words, but we have completely different ways of expressing ourselves. So imagine you are sitting at quite a long table. Maybe it's a family dinner. Yeah, or maybe your friend is sitting at the other end and they're sitting near the salt. This is the salt, and you want them to give you the salt. What do you say? Well, British English, you would say this, something like this. If it's someone who's not your friend, you would say something like this. Let's just focus on the UK one. Now, obviously, to your sister or your best friend, you could say, pass the salt, pass the salt. Yeah, something really, really simple. But to anyone else, just someone who's neutral, not your friend, just someone that you know, you would say something like, excuse me, I'm sorry for bothering you, but would you be able to pass me the salt by any chance? So that would be maybe someone sitting on the next table, some kind of stranger, you don't know them very well. But one of my friends from the USA said this once when I was with them in a restaurant. Hey, buddy, pass the salt. Hey, buddy, pass the salt. So completely different, isn't it? You need to be very, very formal with strangers in England, but you can be very kind of quite short and direct. Obviously, it depends who you're talking to, but there is definitely a big difference when you're talking to strangers in the UK compared to the USA. So look at this. You start off with an apology. Very often, the magic word in England is sorry. If you say sorry at the beginning, then it takes away all the tension and everyone can relax. Okay. Very often we have jobs to do. So this is a job I often tell myself, unfortunately. And I say this, I've got to wash the car. I've got to wash the car. I have got to. I have got to. So have got to is much more common than I have to. Many people think you say, oh, I have to for obligation. But in real life, we say, I've got to, not I have to. So I would say, I'm always forgetting. I've got to wash the car. I forgot. I've got to wash the car. Sometimes we say it quickly. I've got to wash the car. In the USA, no have. No have. Yes, I gotta wash the car. Car. Yeah. Remember after a vowel? In British English, the R is silent. So car, car. US English, car, car, car. I gotta wash the car. I gotta wash the car. Car. Okay, it's different, isn't it? Right. What is this? In the UK, this is a pavement. So we also have different vocabulary. We do not say the sidewalk. That's only in the USA. Yeah, so sidewalk, sidewalk in the USA. UK, this is the pavement. What is this? Well, you might be surprised to know. Maybe you don't know this word, or maybe you do. Maybe it depends what kind of English you've learned. In the UK, we only say a tap. So we've got the hot tap, cold tap. This is a tap. In the USA, faucet. It's a faucet. I've never used that word in my life, but I've seen Netflix dramas. In the USA, they do not say tap. They do not say tap. They say faucet. Faucet. When you go to a building and you ask for the first floor, well, in the USA, you enter the building on the first floor. So if you're in a hotel, the reception is on the first floor, not in England. You enter on the ground floor and the next floor is the first floor. So that could be confusing if you're on holiday in London and someone says your room is on the first floor. You're going to think it's on the same floor as reception, but it's not. First floor is one up from the ground floor. What is this? This is a pot of coffee. It's a pot of coffee. In the USA, a pot of coffee. So we've got, in England, I say o, 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 o. I'm not going crazy. This is exactly what we say. O, o. For everything, we say, I want a proper cup of coffee in a proper copper coffee pot. Okay, in the USA, I want a proper cup of coffee in a proper cup of coffee pot. So what does this oh become? It becomes ah, like up. So in the USA. In England, round mouth. What is a copper coffee pot? Well, is this metal? This is copper. Yeah. So let's say it again. You can try and practice this afterwards. Try and repeat. This is the British one. Ready? I want a proper cup of coffee in a proper copper coffee pot. Say it once more. I want a proper cup of coffee in a proper copper coffee pot. So if you practice that a lot, you're going to sound very, very British. But if you want to say the you're going to sound like you come from the USA, which is also fine. So USA English, I want, no. So you don't say the T. Before a vowel, you don't say the T. So I want a proper cup of coffee in a proper copper coffee pot. Now I come from England, so I'm going to say it how I would naturally. I want a proper cup of coffee in a proper copper coffee pot. There we go. Have a little practice at that if you want to sound more, well, let's just say if you want to have British pronunciation.